It's all about style at the end of the day.
You know, it becomes what you are rather than what you do.
How original can I make my name stand out above all the rest?
This may just be a bit of fun for you, but you're actually ruining someone's life.
It is damaging. It's not high-level crime, but it is damaging.
If I'm doing a piece, I don't think I'm doing some big crime. I just think I'm doing something more natural and more positive.
I wouldn't ever paint on someone's car, I would never paint on the side of some old cottage. But then when it comes to factories or commercial property in the centre of a city, I don't really care.
We're not here to stop people from doing what they enjoy doing. We are here to stop people from damaging other people's property.
It is just vandalism. However artistically it's done, it is vandalism. That's how it happens, that's how it starts, that is graffiti. I first got into graffiti around the summer of 1983. Before I started, in pretty much the whole of England, I think 3D and the Z-Boys were probably the only guys painting, apart from a few guys in London. And it kind of caught the public's eye. There was a big article in Venue about stuff, lots of stuff in the Evening Post about who were these people. And the kind of whole anonymity of it that Banksy's receiving now was happening then because it was new and no one knew about it. So it was quite an exciting time. When I took it up with some fellow friends called FLX and Jinx of the Crime It crew, there wasn't a massive crowd of people doing it, but it gradually mushroomed and mushroomed. Then we had guys from Swindon and Birmingham, so it became a national thing, and then we started to go to Europe.
We started practicing doing tags and designs and, you know, out in the backyard, and then vandalising the lane around the back of the house, and then spread out across the city, slowly but surely.
Just seeing your art in a large format around your area and being able to walk around, kind of point at things and say that I've done that and I've done that. And watching your name go by, I think, is how they phrase it in a certain book.
I guess it combined a love of art with something sort of rebellious and fun, exciting, a bit dangerous, a bit anti-establishment. I mean, what more do you need to appeal to teenagers, really?
Since graffiti first started appearing on the streets of the UK almost 30 years ago, it's come a long, long way. It's more popular, more accepted, and has moved into galleries and onto our living room walls. A trend best illustrated by the artist Banksy, whose work now sells for hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Public perception of graffiti has changed a lot, and a lot in the last few years actually, and you could probably roughly tie it with Banksy's kind of active career and fame. Before, in a lot of people's minds, it was associated with, you know, it was just something, it was a bit of an eyesore, part of the grey fabric of inner city life. It had bad associations. You'd think if an area has loads of graffiti up, probably means it's unsafe. Now, I think a lot more people are opening their eyes when they're walking around the street saying, what have we got on the streets around here?
People saw it as a violent, kind of trouble-breeding environment. Now, things have gone more along an iconic kind of image-based stuff rather than lettering. People see it as beautiful art and just pieces of street art rather than the graffiti that they used to perceive as being bad. So I think it's generally evolved for the better.
But perhaps where graffiti has made its biggest impact is in the fine art world. At his Kensington gallery, Acaris and Deeper has had unprecedented interest in an exhibition of his own personal Banksy collection.
We've done exhibitions of Warhol, Lichtenstein, Hockney, Damien Hirst. We usually would expect approximately 200 people maximum on a Saturday, whereas we're getting closer to 3,500. Well, I think the key to his success is simply the freshness. I mean, he's young, he's dynamic, there's something very new. We haven't had anything really fresh and dynamic in the market since Damien Hirst and his contemporaries, which is now arguably 15 years old. So we've had this void in the British art scene for 15 years, and along comes Banksy and also his contemporaries, and have really shaken it and stirred it all up. The controversy is part of the fun and part of the process of contemporary art, and we're seeing that played out perfectly with the Banksy and urban art scene. I think now it's probably quite safe to say that we've gotten past the point of no return for the urban movement, in exactly the same way that I'm sure my peers 20 years ago, 30 years ago would have said about pop art. Urban art movement, I think, has become the new contemporary pop art.
But this thirst for art with a graffiti background isn't just coming from established wealthy buyers. There's an ever-increasing number of local galleries, exhibitions, coffee table books benefiting from the increased interest in the art.
A year or two ago, there was maybe one street art show going on at any one time. Now there's probably half a dozen. So there's been a massive increase in gallery shows of street art. I think it's about exposure. The art world, just like anything else, at the bottom line is an industry, isn't it? It's a business that's trying to make money. I think they've just got a good commercial head on them, and they recognise that there's a massive taste for this stuff right now. So yes, it's led by popularity and figures, just like many other things, I think.
The artist Paris has been painting graffiti for 20 years. He now makes a living from his art and has his own take on how graffiti has arrived where it is today.
I think it's just been a matter of time for graffiti to be accepted by the public. I think it could always see it coming because it's the art of the people. And now it's great that it's actually getting exposure to all walks of life. I think the media's got a big part to play in helping that, and it has done since the beginning, since the times in New York. It's books and documentaries and films that have helped spread the word of graffiti. Now it's far more digestible for major collectors, for major galleries. I think they're finally getting it at last, after 30 years of us, you know, painting the streets outside their offices or whatever. Now they're really starting to sit up and take notice.
But having more people starting to take notice of graffiti brings problems of its own.
But, you know, I mean, you could always ask people to put forward ideas.
I'm not. I don't want any ideas off anyone else. I want to paint what I want to paint. If you go around to the Duke of York, you know, around the corner, I painted that. I mean, that's for the public. This is for us.
Okay.
All right?
It's just the public see it.
Everyone sees it. I see it as well. But if I tried to please everyone on the road by here, it'd be like cooking a pizza with everyone's favourite topping. It would be disgusting.
I doubt there'd be many people who'd say, that's what I've always wanted to see along there.
I'm not bothered, you know.
No, I'm sure you're not.
Since the rise of public art and since the rise of Banksy, it's kind of made everyone an art critic. Everyone thinks they've got something to say about it. I respect his opinion, but this is for us. I'm painting for myself and anyone that likes this today.
All this interest in graffiti has left the authorities divided over whether street art should ever be sanctioned. The retrospective approval given to a Banksy piece by Bristol City Council has sparked considerable debate.
Well, somewhere just over a year ago, I actually became aware that this had been put up overnight, and we were actually asked, is it going to stay there? And the first response was, well, I think people will probably like it. Let's test that out. So we put consultation out through the council websites, and amazingly, 93% of Bristolians said they want to be kept.
Councillor Hopkins put it to the vote because he didn't have the guts to make a decision himself. He wanted everybody else to say. As I've said, I don't disapprove of the picture per se. I just think that if you allow it to stay, you're condoning vandalism.
Bristol City Council They used to set us up with an art project and then they'd shut it down the next week. They used to fund us to do painting in legal places. All we ever asked for was a legal site to paint. They never gave it to us. And now they're like hero worshipping Banksy stuff, and I mean it's completely, they've turned their argument around. So in a way it's complete hypocrisy, I see. They're just using it because they see it's popular with the masses and they want to, you know, tag along to that.
Making an exception of Banksy seems to throw up some contradictions, but officially the authorities' stance remains unchanged.
We have to be very, 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 very clear as an authority that we don't tolerate graffiti in the form of illegal art or tagging in any way, shape or form. And the only graffiti we do support in an art form is that is commissioned and controlled and supported by the local communities. If you deface someone else's property, whether I think it's right or someone else thinks it's right or wrong, is totally irrelevant. That act in itself is illegal, and we have a very clear message that we have to send to people that participate in that sort of activity, that it is criminal, and if you are caught doing it, you will be prosecuted and you will face a criminal record.
So, caught between the softening public opinion and conflicting messages from the authorities, where does this leave the growing number of artists with one foot in legitimate art and the other in illegal graffiti? Since moving to London a year ago, the artist Sickboy has seen interest in his work continue to increase. But commercial success hasn't meant turning his back on painting on the street.
I just like the freedom of being able to just constantly create, and you expressing yourself. It's nice to be outdoors and having your work in a public domain. To be honest, the normal fine art gallery route is just boring to me. I don't like that style of painting necessarily. I just like the way that I'm not bound to any rules. If I want to paint something one way or another, I can do that, you know. It makes me feel more free as a human being. I just see it as doing art. If I'm doing a piece, I don't think I'm doing some big crime. I just think I'm doing something more natural and more positive. It's egotistical on one level, you know, you just want to be known for your work and you like to see your stuff about. I think it's nice to be able to see your work, not in a sketchbook in your bedroom or just on a canvas in your studio, but outside with people walking past.
Despite the current popularity of his work, Sickboy is keen to distance himself from the hype surrounding graffiti and street art.
I mean, at the moment there is a lot of demand for my work, and I could cash in and I could be releasing 1 or 2 prints a month and, you know, getting lots of money, but I don't think there's a need to cash in. It's more important for me, I mean, to look at where I'm going to be when I'm 40, 50 years old. I'm still going to want to be painting, I'm still going to want to be selling my paintings. So I don't want to just really spank it now and then regret it later.
Like Sickboy, Cyclops is one of the new wave of artists emerging in the wake of Banksy. For him, the media spotlight and favour that street art enjoys is not without its problems.
I think that there's it's a strange time, isn't it? Because people who've been breaking the law for a long time are getting paid. Certain artists' work is kind of lauded and protected, while other work is kind of vilified and marked out as being antisocial and an eyesore. I find that difficult to swallow because that's making a judgment call. You know, you can't really do that with art. You can't make a judgment and kind of say that's what everyone ought to think or everyone should think. This is our environment, you know, this is our city, but most people wouldn't ever dream of altering it or changing it, you know. Well, why not? You know, it's our city, you know. You know, city planners are just f***heads, you know, they're just like absolute, you know, it's jobs for the boys and they don't really care about people's mindsets or what's going to affect people's kind of psyche when they're on their way to work, on their way back. Anything to change that, any small thing, it's just like a little bit of resistance, isn't it? You know, I'm not like a freedom fighter or anything, but it's just like a little bit of a challenge, just a little bit to say, well, I don't really believe in what it is you're trying to sell me at all. Bigger is better sort of thing, you know. And you change the meaning of something by amplifying its scale, even if it's a simple object. If you make it big enough, people have to think twice about what it might mean, you know. I wouldn't ever paint on someone's car, I would never paint on the side of some old cottage, you know, because I don't feel that's right, personally speaking. But then when it comes to factories or commercial property in the centre of a city, I don't really care. I don't have any feeling of kind of wrongdoing if I'm doing that.
Of course, painting illegally comes with considerable risks, something Cyclops' collaborator, Tech33, is only too aware of.
I mean, because I'm like 33 years old now and everything's perfect for me. I've got a perfect home, loads of like savings through selling paintings. The only thing I could do to ruin things at the moment is if I get caught for doing illegal graffiti and I get a fine. But still, to me, it's worth it. It like drives me on, because when I'm working hard, I like look forward to my the days off, like when all the work's done as well, and I like want to be out there with like Cyclops and Sweet Tooth. Street bombing, like, or street tagging, it's like a very special thing to me. It's very dear to me. I could be like caught at any day and it could cause me a lot of trouble, but then I love getting up. It's just a really good feeling. It's one of my favourite things to do. So yeah, there's no stopping me.
For Paris, it's precisely the risks of getting caught that eventually made him give up doing illegal painting.
I really turned my back on legal graffiti just because of the risks involved with that, and that whole culture. Even going to court, even getting arrested is so demeaning and so soul destroying. These days it ain't worth it. I can get a lot more done going through the right channels to create the work that I really want to do.
Getting permission from property owners often means he can still paint what he wants, but concentrate on doing large-scale walls that would be difficult to do illegally.
It's good to sort of step out of the, step out and take the bows, get the acclaim for, me the person, and not have to hide behind a pseudonym. Paris, Graham Jews, it's all, it's all the same package.
Despite being able to take personal acclaim for his work, it's hard not to make comparisons with pieces done outside the law.
Something high profile in a really good spot that's well done, that's really well executed. You can't beat that, yeah, and I do get jealous because, running those sort of risks is not what I'm about anymore. I miss those times.
Paris is not alone in giving up the illegal side of graffiti, but amongst those who don't, it's the most persistent and prolific that the police target.
Graffiti itself is not a crime, but putting graffiti on someone's property without that person's permission is a crime. We're not here to stop people from doing what they enjoy doing. We are here to stop people from damaging other people's property. The main type of graffiti that we investigate is the tagging, because that is where the most damage is caused. But it doesn't mean to say that you can go and do a big colourful mural and just because it's not a tag, it's all right to do it on someone's property. It all comes down to permission, and without the permission it is a criminal offence. So we don't discriminate between tags and murals. At the end of the day, if you've put those things up on somebody's property and they don't want it there, then you're more than likely going to get arrested for it. We research graffiti tags. We're out on the street a lot, seeing what's up, what's fresh, and we approach it the same way that we would approach any other prolific crime. We just go at it hard until we get the offender punished for the amount of damage that they've done. As a unit, we've been very successful. Pretty much everyone we've investigated has been had some form of punishment. I think the most prolific offender we've dealt with we cleared 365 crimes, and that was 365 separate counts of criminal damage. I mean, that for us was quite a good and significant case, and I think it sent out a message of, as long as they're out there doing it, we're going to be out there catching them.
The police are not alone in taking issue with tagging. For the public, it's where most people's sympathy for graffiti ends.
Okay, and here we are. This is a fine example of what we've had to put up with in the local area. A guy was caught some 3 years ago, arrested by the police. A clean-up campaign went on. He was involved in actually cleaning up. That went well. Some 6 months afterwards, come back again, and here we are today, looking at what we're looking at.
It is damaging. It's not high-level crime, but it is damaging, and you know, we want to live in a place that people feel comfortable in.
The tagging graffiti is horrible. I really don't like it. It just makes the place look really scruffy and untidy. The Banksy graffiti, it's quite nice. I think that does add to an area. You have to obviously keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't go absolutely everywhere as this stuff has. It's just horrible.
But for the people who defend graffiti, tagging isn't an optional extra that the public can simply say no to.
It's an age-old question, and so many people say, oh, I love what you're painting on this wall, but I hate all that scribble.
You can't just have graffiti in galleries and on canvases and on prints and in coffee table books without having the graffiti on the street. That's where it comes from, and that's where the culture was born.
Tagging made graffiti. You wouldn't have any of this. You wouldn't have graffiti if it weren't for the early tags.
You'll never ever just have it in the gallery. You're always going to have people doing it on the streets. They'll never be able to stop that.
So in our rush to drag graffiti into the mainstream, it's been easy to forget about the subculture's heritage and roots. And while its future in our galleries is uncertain, on our streets, it isn't going away. And as long as we have it, the debate will continue to rage.
But I don't think that there's any confusion. I mean, the main issue is you don't put up graffiti on someone's property without their permission, and that is the start and the end of it.
The graffiti in itself is an act of defiance, and I think in today's day and age you've got so many images, you've got advertising, you've got stuff you don't want chucked in your face, that to go out and put a painting on the wall, what's the problem? I think everyone should have their right to do that.